That one's thrown way outside to the right side. Caught him. But
It's not due.
Hand this one off up the middle. This is Colton breaking tackles, first down and more. 30, 20, he's gonna score. 10-5, touchdown Bears. It's 48-7, no flags.
quarterback keeper up the right side. Across the 45, down to the 35, 30, 25, 10, 15, 10-5, gone, touchdown. Man in motion, drops back, looking, pressure coming, rolls to his right. Throws left side, got him, completed the 40, cuts across the 50, down to the 30, got one man to beat, he beats him down inside the 10-5, gone, touchdown! For Nicholson!
By your two. Trips to the right, back to pass, Wagman, throw over the middle, oh, it's caught, it's Hunter, it's a foot race, oh my goodness, what a shake!
Gavin, talk about the Bridgeland Bears a little bit. They improved a lot in 2019.
In 2019, the Bridgeland Bears went 8-3 overall, 6-2 in district play. They made the playoffs for the first time in school history and lost in the first round to Austin Vandegrift.
Dustin, I'll start with you. What did you see from Bridgeland last season?
I saw a team that was tired of the 1 year away talk, and they just busted down the door. And that 48-14 win over Ranch definitely put them on the radar as an up-and-coming team in the city. And now they did graduate their first class last year, but Dylan Goffney and Connor Wigman are back. And those two alone, they should be good enough to carry the Bears to a district title in 2020.
Trevor, what do you think?
Well, I think going into this season, they're the I think a lot of people think they're the prohibitive favorite. Even that loss to Vandegrift they had, it was a really close game, and Vandegrift's a really tough team. They're not going to have to play them anymore because Vandegrift and all those other Austin schools moved to Region 4, so now they just have to worry, about the Duncanvilles and the Cedar Hills and teams like that. So still going to be tough, but watch out for the Bears in 2020.
I had a chance to catch up with Bridgeland head coach David Raffield. Let's take a look at that interview.
We now welcome on Bridgeland head coach David Raffield. And Coach Raffield, how are you doing today?
Doing great, man.
How have you guys, I'll start off, how have you guys handled the coronavirus pandemic? What have you been up to?
Well, I tell you what, we got a great group of kids. We provide a workout through At Sports U app, and then we've been holding Zoom position meetings throughout the week. We've really had a lot of success coaching through the new media.
Well, now let me ask you about this. Your past season, you guys struggled in your first season, the 2018 season. You improved tremendously in 2019 to go 8-3. What changed from 2018 to 2019?
The kids got a year older. We played with a lot of babies that first year. I think in the last game of the year, I only had 5 offensive players that could drive a car legally.
Never heard anything like that before. What was your reaction when you saw the new 16-6A district?
Hey, we're really excited. It's fun to have everybody just in Sci Fair. Don't have to travel very far, and it's going to be a very competitive district.
Let me ask you about your 2 offensive players. Your stud quarterback, Connor Wegman, is coming back along with his number 1 target, Dylan Goffney. How has the development been for the both of them? What have you seen from back then?
Well, we had a tremendous off season going. We were, as a team, it was going to be the strongest we'd ever had. We tested that week before spring break, and everybody was excited. Connor was throwing the football extremely well, physically maturing. Dylan is solid as a rock. He is in great shape. And so and now we're just waiting to get back to work again next week.
And last question for you, Coach. We're looking forward, by the way, to you guys working again next week. What will football look like to you in 2020?
Don't know. It's still, the verdict's still out on what all's going to happen. But as of right now, I think we're really excited. The only real difference will be taking temperatures before the game. And I think depth is going to be really important because if someone gets ill, there's no playing through a sickness this year.
Right. Do you expect fans?
Yes, I do. I think that this is coming under control right now. The numbers are positive, and that's really all we can do is to continue to watch the numbers.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in this 2020 season.
Thank you, sir, and thank everything you do for high school football.
Next up, we have the Cy Falls Eagles. Let's take a look at the 2019 highlights.
What looks to be Justin Bingham out to the right. This one, hand off, down the left sideline he goes, inside the 30, nobody's going to get him. Touchdown, J.P. Morton and the Eagles.
To his right for wide receiver 6. Collins rolls out, looking, fires across the middle, caught. Here we go, 30, 20, 10, and he's in. Touchdown, Ricky Johnson. And that puts the Eagles on the board.
Side, Johnson and Goodwin on the same side. Burke and Silas on the other side. Snap to Collins. He wants to throw. Pressure coming. He gets
field. The play action bootleg. He just kind of flips it up. And it's picked off. And it will be cribbed as Jaden Goodwin is happy.
Collins has time to throw, airing it out deep, looking for Ricky Johnson. Touchdown, Eagles.
He's got 3 to his left and 1 to his right. Cox drops back. Pressure coming. Dump off pass. Intercepted. Here we go. 30, 20, and he's going to take it to the house. Goodbye. And there you go.
Is underway. Nice high kick, driving Walker back to about the 7. He'll bring it up. He's got the 15, 20, up the middle, 25, 30. He's got a lane outside. One man to beat. And Walker's going to take the opening kickoff all the way for a touchdown. 93 yards.
Martin, the bigger back. Martin breaks the tackle off the right side. Martin off to the races inside the 20, the 10, the 5. Nobody's going to get him. Touchdown, Eagle.
And the last time we saw Enrique, he was denting the field house down here on the south end of the stadium. And this one is going to be no different. They've got a little bit of side spin. Oh, they're going to catch that, and they're going to bring that one out. This is Jalen Walker with the return. He's right up through the middle. He's at the 40. He's got to beat the kicker. 50, 40, 30. Can the man get the angle on him? 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Eagles. Jalen Walker.
Gavin, Cy Falls, always consistently good.
Consistent they were in 2019. They went 10-2 overall, 7-1 in district play. They made the playoffs in 17-6A, finishing just behind Cy Fair. They beat Lamar in the first round of the postseason and lost in the second round to Katy Tompkins, who we know went pretty far.
Yeah. Katy Tompkins has become one of the best teams in the entire city. Trevor, I'll start with you. What did you see from Cy Falls last season?
Well, I got to cover them in their game against Northbrook earlier in the season, and they were dominant. Just a really good team. Even that loss, we said they lost to Tompkins. That game went to overtime. So it easily could have gone either way, and Tompkins had to score late to even force overtime. So
that's right.
Cy Falls, a really good team. They're moving into the new district, but they're pretty familiar with almost everyone in the district because just a couple years ago, it used to be all the Cy schools, and the only real change they're going to have is moving from Region 3 and all the Houston schools to now Region 2, which, like I said before, you have that mix of Houston and Dallas.
Dustin, what do you think of Cy Falls?
Admittedly, full disclosure, I'm a Woods grad, so I focused more on the 14 side of things. But I think that Falls came out as a pretty big winner in the realignment when they moved out of Region 3 into Region 2. They'll get to step out of that huge shadow that Cy Fair has cast, and they'll be right in the mix for the district title with that 1-2 punch of J.P. Morton and Jalen Walker at running back, and they'll always have a solid defensive unit. So I think they're going to be among the favorites to compete for the title in 16.
Yeah, we all know, even casual Texas high school football fans know how tough Region 3 can be. All right, we had a chance to catch up with Cy Falls head coach Chris Brister. Let's take a look at that interview. We are now talking with Cy Falls head coach Chris Brister. And, Coach, how have you been doing?
Doing good. It's been a busy week, that's for sure, with coming back to SAC camps and things. But we're making a go of it, and things are going well. It's good to see the kids again. I'm glad they're out with us, and I guess we've been doing all right. It's been a little weird for everybody.
I was just about to ask, how has strength and conditioning been so far? What will it look like moving forward?
Well, moving forward, I think it comes down to what the UIL tells us we can do as far as if they loosen some restrictions or things like that. But, for us right now, got a lot of numbers, more than we've had in quite a while. We're keeping everybody outside and doing a lot of body weight type stuff, some conditioning, some agility. We'd love to be in the weight room, but not at the expense of 10 to 15 kids at a time. So, our kids are obviously a little bit out of shape. They've had some time off, so we're able to get a lot done with what we're doing now.
And how did you guys handle the entire COVID situation?
Well, I feel like we got some things done. We had some productive Zoom meetings with our kids, which was interesting and new. Sent out a lot of home workouts and try to track them through some various ways of Twitter and send them into us and Sports U. But the Zoom meetings were really pretty cool in that it's a chance for you to talk to your guys, and it was really neat for me as a head coach because we scheduled everything. All of our meetings were at the same time, so I was able to pop in and out of all of them. And I tell you, our coaches did a fantastic job of presenting information. Everybody kind of had their own different way of doing it, but all of them were effective, and the kids were engaged. So that's how we handle it. I think it's probably no different than most, but I feel like we didn't waste the time. I'll say that.
And you guys are moving into a new district this upcoming season, but you're familiar with some of the Cypress opponents. What was your reaction when you saw the 16 6A district?
Well, we kind of thought it was going to happen, to be honest. I don't know where we had heard that from, or, there's a million rumors, when realignment comes out, but that was one that was always kind of floated around. And so I really wasn't surprised when it happened. I think it's great. Those are a lot of those head coaches are good friends of mine. Our staffs know their staffs. Our kids, know all their kids. It's a lot of junior highs that they played together years ago, and so there's some good rivalries I think that are good for us to get back to. I wouldn't say that we're familiar with anybody anymore. There's been a lot of change since we've been over there, but I know everybody's a very well coached football team. Everybody runs a great program. So we'll have a work cut out for us without a doubt.
And what are your thoughts on the new region? You guys are moving from Region 3 to Region 2.
Well, that's a big difference, big deal. It's one thing to switch districts and be with some guys that and have competed against in the past, but we're going a whole different direction if we're fortunate enough to make the playoffs. Now we're going to Klein, which we've got Klein Cane on the schedule week 1, so I'm hoping we don't see them again in week 11. But I'm sorry, for a scrimmage we've got Klein Cane, but it's different. I know that there's a lot more travel involved. It's a tough league without a doubt, but it's Texas high school football. It's tough everywhere.
Absolutely right. And I got to ask you about some returning starters and guys graduating, of course. Who are the guys you'll be missing, and who are the guys you're expecting to step up?
We're going to miss a lot. That was a senior class for us that I believe we graduated 17 starters. And some of those guys, you take a Jaden Goodwin and a Ricky Johnson that were 3-year starters for us in the secondary as safeties. In their senior year, they played every snap of the football game. Played them on offense, played them on defense. played them on as much of the kicking game as their conditioning would allow. So, you're losing 2 guys there, but you're really losing 4 positions. And leaders and smart kids. And, there's a reason they're going to play Division I football. We're losing a lot of skill on the offensive side of the ball, losing our quarterback, losing most of our offensive line. So, we got a lot of shoes to fill, but I think when you've been a successful program, you should have a lot of seniors that are starters. We had the same thing the year before. We graduated a whole lot of guys, and we're sitting there in the summer thinking, I hope the new guys can step up and fill those shoes. And by and large, they did a great job. We were 9-1 on the regular season last year, which is tied for the school record. So, we're hoping that this senior group and these younger kids will come up and do the same thing and replace some guys. We've got some good places to start. We've got a returning running back that's a all-district kid and got multiple offers. He ran for, I want to say 1,400 yards last year for us. And JP Martin's his name. Got a 2-way guy and Jalen Walker that we'll have to rely on in the kicking game as well. Elliott Jones will be a 3-year starter for us as a nose guard. Got a guy that played some snaps last year as a backup quarterback, and we lost Brandon Collins, who's a really good player for us, to injury in a couple of games. And Caleb came in and did a great job, and won those 2 games for us. So we think we got some building blocks. Got a long way to go. Really wish we'd had spring training to get some of these questions answered, but we didn't have that. So now it's about the summer and how we can get these guys ready to go in a couple of months.
I know, speaking with other coaches, you're not alone in that boat wishing you had spring ball.
I imagine.
Last question for you. I've asked every coach this. We're expecting football this upcoming season at basically almost a certainty. What do you think football will look like in 2020?
Well, I don't think the football is going to look any different. Whether or not we have a full capacity in the stands or the bands there, the drill teams there. I mean, that stuff's beyond my control, and I have no clue of what that looks like. That's something that people are a lot higher above in the pay grade than I would be able to make that decision. So, I think football though, it's going to be a little different just from the standpoint of I'm not sure how far we are along, as far as schemes are concerned. I mean, those are some things that we would have liked to implemented some of our teaching in the spring, but maybe that's where those Zoom meetings came into play. So maybe we're not as far behind as we thought. I think it would be stupid on any coach's part to think that you're going to be as physically strong in August as you would have been if you had, 2.5 months during the school year and everybody was in the weight room right now. So, but all that's relative, if your kids are benching 50 pounds less than, the other guys probably are too. So, I know Texas high school coaches will find a way to get kids caught up though. And so, I don't anticipate the football looking a whole lot different.
All right, Coach Brister, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time, and best of luck this upcoming season.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Next up, we have the Cy Lake Spartans. Let's take a look at their 2019 campaign.
Drops back, fires, caught. Past the 30, 20. Goodbye. Touchdown, Spartans.
Going out for the field goal. Kick is up. No, it's a fake. Runs into the left side. Got it in. Touchdown on the fake field goal. On the 5-yard touchdown run. On the fake field goal.
Play clock down to 10. Masood wants to throw. Looks over the middle. Fires. Complete. Tackle broken. This is McMillan. McMillan is going to score. McMillan, 51 yards. A touchdown for Cy Lakes.
Drops back. Looking, still looking. Throws left side. Jumped in there. Completed. Got him. Gone. Touchdown. Turner.
A little under 100 yards a game rushing, 230 yards total. So on third down, empty set, tunnel screen, set up, nice high pointed catch, and the screen is set up, and this is going to be a foot race, and this is Khalik Abdul-Mateen down the sideline. Khalik Abdul-Mateen. Cam.
As Anderson's back there as well. Hands off to Anderson on the right side. Right up and hole across the 40, down to the 50, 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, gone. Touchdown, Anderson.
Gavin, tell us a little bit more about Cy Lakes.
Well, for Cy Lakes last season, it was a 500-mark season. They went 5-5 overall, 4-4 in district play. Their second consecutive season at the 500 mark, and they missed the postseason once again.
Dustin, I'll start with you about Cy Lakes. What do you think of the Spartans?
After watching Sophion Massoud electrify Cy Fair last year, I just wonder where they're going to go. I just wonder if they've peaked. Now, there's some interesting weapons in Josh McMillan and Amir Turner out wide, but they're going to have to rebuild quite a bit, especially on defense, especially in the secondary. And I've wondered if they've peaked.
Trevor, what's your take?
Well, they were a fun team to watch. They could definitely score. I'm just thinking of two of their losses. It was really on the defensive side of the ball was their biggest problem. I think the one game everyone in Texas knew about was that Tomball Memorial game where they lost. They scored 70 points and they still lost. I mean, that's crazy. And like Dustin said, they got to replace Sophion Massoud. I'd say the best quarterback in that district last year. Also, his top wideout, Khalik Abdul-Mateen, he was electrifying. And it's going to be tough, but you know what? This team does, like Gavin said, they've had 2 straight 500-win seasons, and before that, all they'd had is 1-9 and 0-10 season. 0-10 seasons, so they're moving in the right direction, but like Dustin said, they're going to have to rebuild.
Gavin, you had a chance yesterday to catch up with Ronald Patton. What did you pick up from Coach Patton?
Well, I think he was thinking that they're going to trend upwards coming into 2020. I mean, after 2 consecutive seasons at the 500 mark, there's nowhere really to go but to continue to trend upwards after going, 1-9, 0-10 the seasons beforehand. So I think he's looking forward to getting into 2020 and getting things into a winning standard.
Let's take a look at Gavin's discussion.
We're now joined by Cy Lake Spartans head coach Ronald Patton. Coach, how have you been in your staff and keeping your players up to date and in line during these times?
I think much like everybody else, plenty of Zoom meetings, lots of text messages and contacting those guys and just trying to make sure everybody's healthy and making sure everyone's okay and their families. But it's been position Zoom meetings, leadership group Zoom meetings, and just as a whole, just meeting after meeting online.
Coach, you're losing some big-time talent all around due to graduation. We'll name a few guys here. Kyrie Anderson, Khalik Abdul-Mateen, Xavier Corbin, Amon Perry, Xavier Howard, Luis Solis, and, of course, Sophion Massoud at quarterback. How do you plan to combat those losses and fill those shoes in 2020?
We identified this offseason was going to be huge coming out of the season. So this COVID thing really hit us hard. But we've got guys that's got to step up, next man up. We've got some kids that have some talent. We've got some kids that have a little game experience from the last season. But we got to get them more reps and get them coached up more. But it's going to be hard to fill those shoes. I mean, you got guys like Kyrie, who's been up there for 4 years. You got a guy like Sophion, who's came in and did the things that he did last year. And then the leadership of a Khalik is probably the most priceless thing that we have that we're going to suffer from. So it's going to take a group effort to try to replace some of those pieces.
You guys Sorry, Coach. You guys put up a lot of points last year, including 70 and 41 and 2 losses to Tomball Memorial and Bridgeland, respectively. How do you feel like those losses changed the Spartans last season and moving into this next season?
Number one, you score 70 points, you expect to win. I mean, that's the big thing. So defensive, we got to get better. The defensive staff, the defensive coaches, the defensive players, we realized that we got to get better. And unfortunately, we got a good group, 6 of those guys, 7 of the guys that have contributed last year's defense, they're back. The back end guys, we got to get better there. We got to get some young kids coached up in a hurry. But having some of the weapons we had on offense, it was if people did certain things, we felt like we should score with some of the kids that we have. But it's one of those things, replacing that talent, like you said at first. We got to replace that talent and be able to put those points back on the board because our offenses that we face, they can put points up in a hurry.
Coach, after going both 5-5 in 2018 and 2019, back-to-back seasons at the 500 mark, what needs to happen in 2020 for your team to contend for that playoff spot and get over that hump?
That's one of the questions I ask my senior class every year at the end of the season. I do my senior evaluation, and it was a consensus that we've got to dedicate ourselves and we've got to commit to the cause earlier. I'm a big guy when it comes to analyzing your staff, analyzing your kids, and trying to get an idea what this next group's going to look like. A lot of them said, Coach, one of the things that I think we need to do is just right now just jump back into it and get commitment out those kids, because I think there was times that if you watch our film, we weren't as deep as we like to be, and had we start that committed process earlier and the off season and the boot camps, the summer workout type deal, then we might have identified a kid here or there that could have helped us in those situations. So I think just, it's hard to say since we've been through this whole COVID situation, but I think it's one of those things that we got to find out right away who's in the boat and who's out the boat to produce more depth.
Final question, with the UIL limited strength and conditioning camp starting next Monday, how do you and your staff plan to get the team, back into the swing of things after being away from in-person organized team activities since early March?
Right now we just want to get our kids back on campus. One of the things that, we start talking about scheming and doing this, but we want to get the kids back. We want to get them back comfortable with each other. Hopefully we can avoid any kind of flare-up with this pandemic going on. And it's very serious. The way we're approaching from a district standpoint, we're going to, crawl before we walk as far as workouts go this summer. And then once we can get things going and hopefully our kids get back and the mentality is there to where we're back in football, we're back doing what we do, then hopefully it's just naturally the chemistry will build as normal. But we're going to take it step by step, day by day, as far as working out and then eventually working our way back into the weight room and eventually getting hopefully some contact things going together. We're not going to rush it. Not knowing where kids have been or what they've done for the last 10 weeks, I think we do a disservice to ourselves if we try to get everybody going real fast and then try to speed the process up too much.
Coach, I know we're looking forward to seeing Cy Lakes in 2020. We want to thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you. Sorry about Monday. It was one of those deals that it just got pretty hectic around 2:30. Sorry about that, guys.
Not a problem. Best of luck, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, we have the Sci Park Tigers. Really young program. Let's take a look at their 2019 season.
Some of these seniors will hit the football field. Sober gets the snap, gives around the left side to LeBlanc.
And not to keeper on the left side. Cuts across the 30, down to the 40, down to the 30, gone, got him, touchdown. One to the right. And Tobert's going to keep it up the left side, down across inside the 10, 5, touchdown, Tobert! And not to keeper on the left side. Cuts across the 30, down to the 40, down to the 30, gone, got him, touchdown!
7 seconds left in the quarter. 3rd down and 4. Tolbert gives this one to Cameron King. King inside the 10, 5, touchdown Tigers. Incredible foot race.
No. Johnson drops back past those on the screen, intercepted, and it's going to be picked off. Oh my goodness. And on the interception.
Brought down by number 18, senior breakthrough finisher.
Sober gets the give, fakes, now rolling out to his.
Gavin, why don't you tell us more about Sci Park?
Well, for Sci Park last year, they went 3-7 overall, 3-5 in district play. It was only their second varsity season, and they actually earned their first program win in school history in Week 4 over Sci Springs.
Dustin, I'll start with you, talking about Sci Park.
All right, Park is a team that I'm pretty high on. I think they're going to be I think out of all the non-playoff teams, I think they'll have the best chance to crash the top 4, which I have it as Bridgeland, Ranch, Falls, and Woods. And Harold Perkins and that junior class that Park has, they're going to probably carry that team to the brink of playoff contention. As you know, Perkins, he was the defensive newcomer of the year in District 14 last year. He can also play a little bit of quarterback, but considering that he won a defensive award last year, that may be where his future lies. I think that defense, led by him, could help them steal a game or two. I think after just trying to survive year 1, they started to figure out some things last year. I mean, they even played Ranch tough before they ultimately lost 24-14. So this is a team that could be on the rise in the coming years.
Trevor, your thoughts on Sci Park?
Well, like Gavin said, first win in program history. They even got 3 wins out of the district. I got to see them in person when they played Langham Creek, and they were down that whole game. And then in the fourth quarter, they turned it on. They were down 10-0, and then winning 24-10, including getting a pick 6. So they just knew when to turn it on at the right time. And like Dustin said, they played Sci Ranch tough. Sci Ranch has been arguably the best team in that district, or in the Sci Fair whole school district. Of all their football teams the past decade, I'd say it's them and Sci Fair. But anyway, Park really improved as the season went on, and I think I agree with Dustin. They can maybe sneak a win or 2 in, and maybe compete for that 4th playoff spot.
I want to add, too, that they went on the road to Tomball Memorial and almost pulled off an upset. So you could argue that there were probably a handful of plays from finishing 500 last year.
Like you said, you're very high on them. Looking forward to seeing how they do in 2020. And Trevor, you had a chance to catch up with Sci Park head coach Greg Powers. What did you pick up from your interview?
Well, he's excited for football season. He is looking forward to seeing what the new guys have coming in. We talked about he's going to have to replace his leading rusher, James LeBlanc, but he likes what he sees from his class coming forward, and he's really looking forward to also playing Sci Falls.
Let's take a look at that interview.
And we're here with head coach of the Sci Park Tigers, Coach Rogers. And Coach, how have you been doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. As best, I guess, as good as you can be during a pandemic.
So what have you done differently? Obviously, strength and conditioning starts next week, and it's going to be limited. But what have you been doing differently so far this offseason?
Well, of course, with everything being online, everybody's got different challenges. We've tried to put out daily workouts for all of our athletes on campus, and we've been in touch with our football kids, our football team, either through position group meetings or team meetings or a combination of both weekly since we got out of school after spring break.
Okay. And what do you expect coming next week from strength and conditioning with the limited capacity?
Well, we're hoping most of them come. I had a meeting with our football team yesterday, and they've already started. Our kids are starting to sign up for it. Of course, everything's going to look a lot different than what it's had in years past, with the social distancing guidelines and limited numbers of players per coaches and all that. But I think our kids have been doing a great job. I mean, I know a lot of them have been telling us that they've been doing the workouts we've been giving them in addition to doing some other workouts on their own. Heck, we even had a couple of kids went and found some scrap wood and built a bench in their garage out of wood that they just found around the neighborhood.
All right. Well, you are losing your leading rusher, James LeBlanc, from last year. Who do you have stepping up to replace him?
We actually have our whole backfield will be a lot of juniors for next year. Cameron King returns as our wingback up front. To fill that tailback role, it will probably be Harold Perkins, who played a couple of different positions for us last year on offense. He was our backup quarterback, and also at the end of the year played some tailback for us. And then we've got, of course, filling Sergio Small's role at fullback will be Nate Livingston and Juan Ortiz will be the two that will fill that one. We feel pretty good. I mean, James and that senior class did a lot for our campus and school. First graduating class we've had, they kind of set the tone for everything, but they also left a good legacy and some big shoes to fill. And I think we've got some young kids that are ready to step up and take those roles on.
All right, so going from 0-10 in 2018 to now 3, you went 3-7 last year. You got your first 3 wins in district play and in school history. So what really changed from the first year to the second year?
A lot of it's just experience. The first year when you go into play varsity ball with juniors as your highest classification, they've never played at that level. They haven't had those upperclassmen to look up to. It's a big change from JV football to varsity football, especially in Sci Park ISD. I mean, it's a huge jump, and I think the experience of it helped. And some of our kids even admitted that first year on varsity, about halfway through the season, Coach, we didn't really realize that it was going to be this different. We should have listened to you. Well, yeah, we tried to tell you. And the added experience with our kids now. I mean, we've got 2 years. Some of our seniors this year, it'll be their 3rd year on varsity. We had about 8 to 10 sophomores that were up last year that all had significant playing time that's going to help out. So it's just our varsity playing experience as a team. We're better off now than we were coming into last year.
Okay, and final question: how is it going to be different not having to travel to either Bryan or Tomball, and then also the new team coming into the district, Cy Falls?
Well, traveling, it has its good and bad points about it. To me, the traveling didn't bother me as much, just because if you do make it to the playoffs and you have to travel, you've had a chance to do that beforehand. It'll be different. It'll be a good different, especially for me with the connection that I have with Cy Falls. Coach Brister, the head coach over there, and I worked together for 11 years at Cy Falls. We both came in there in the 2005 together for that season and split up whenever I left in 2016. So it'll be neat. I mean, to see some familiar faces across the sideline from us, but at the same time, I mean, any Sci-Fair school, I mean, you have a straight Sci-Fair district now. It's going to be one of the tougher ones you're going to play in. I mean, there's no off week. We get to take a breather this week. I mean, it's a dogfight week in and week out.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck next season.
All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Next up, we have one of the most consistent programs in the entire state, the Cy Ranch Mustangs. Let's take a look at their 2019 season.
Handoff to the back. Could be gone. Following his blockers, he is Gone. Gone. Touchdown Mustangs.
Season high 4 touchdown throws against Langham Creek. On 2nd down and 11, he arches one this side, and Eldridge makes an over-the-shoulder catch and will stride down the sideline for the Mustang touchdown. 80 yards.
Down. 71 yards on 10 carries and a touchdown for the senior. Keep feeding him. Shakes 2 tackles to the outside. Eldridge will dance into the end zone. Touchdown.
Goes for about 6. Jet sweep, handoff to Pino. He gets the edge. He'll scoot inside the sideline and score. What a cutback by Pino. He got.
Sears drops back. Pressure coming. Sears still running. Sears fires it. He's got a man wide open. Caught. 40, 30. He's going to take it to the house. Sunday takes the lead.
McDougal to throw. Slings it over the middle. Complete. Pino. Elias Pino motoring downfield. Can he get there? Yes, touchdown.
On that far right side, Mosley taking in shotgun, throws, intercepted by the Mustangs, and this is going to go all the way for 6 points. Pick 6, touchdown Mustangs. Man in motion to the left, throws right there. Oh, intercepted! And he's running in 10. The 5 cuts over to the middle. Touchdown Mustangs!
Dancing with David Park, the defensive coordinator for the Cougars. Sears, wide open, Pino. Using his speed, Elias Pino to the end zone, touchdown.
Gavin, tell us more about the Sci Ranch Mustangs. Of course, bringing in head coach Sean McAuliffe from Converse Judson. What did you see from them last season?
Well, they went 8-4 overall, 6-2 in district play, made the playoffs. They beat Stony Point in the first round before falling to the Dwight McLaughlin-led Klein Oak team in the second round.
Trevor, starting with you, Sci Ranch.
Well, got to call one game for them last year, and that was a barn burner. They were down 31-13 late in the third against Sci Lakes, and then they just turned it on. Got a 65-yard touchdown game to take the lead in the fourth, and then held on. But Sci Ranch, very consistent. The one game I'm looking at this upcoming season is that game against Bridgeland, because Bridgeland, for lack of a better word, they dominated. They just
really
beat up on them.
Yeah.
And I think Sci Ranch is going to want some revenge. I mean, the schools are, I don't even think 3 miles from each other. They're right next to each other. A lot of those kids probably went to elementary and middle school together, so they're going to want, that's a rivalry game. And for Sci Ranch next year, that's the one game I have circled for them.
Dustin, what do you think?
Well, the Sean McAuliffe era got off to a bit of a rocky start after they got the brakes beaten off of them by Bridgeland. And they were on the ropes for much of that game against Sci Lakes and struggled to put Park away. But as the season progressed, I think we started to see flashes of the Ranch of old. I mean, DJ Sears, he's a dynamic playmaker. I think he's probably going to be a candidate to rush for 1,000 yards, possibly throw for 1,700. Now he's going to lose Willie Eldridge and Elias Pino, but Cam Burton showed out pretty well as a sophomore, and all eyes are definitely going to be on him as the number one guy. Defensively, Robin Neely was an all-state performer with his 6 interceptions. He's going to be leading a very, very imposing secondary group with Romario Noel, Xavier Watson, and Roderick Edwards. There we go. I forgot his name for a minute. So that Ranch defense might be on the rebound once again.
And we had a chance to catch up with Sean McAuliffe. Let's take a look at that interview.
We welcome on head coach of the Sci Ranch Mustangs, Sean McAuliffe. And coach, how have you been dealing with strength and conditioning this week?
Well, first of all, it's been great to get back and actually feel like a coach again. I don't think coaches by nature are designed to stare at Zoom, people on Zoom and be on the computer all day long like we kind of have been. It's always good to be around our kids, be around each other, and it's different. It's a different approach, and there's some things that we're emphasizing that when I first started coaching 20 years ago or whatever it is that we never even gave any thought to. So it's, I've been really, really pleased. I'm blessed. I work with a great group of guys and gals at Cypress Ranch. It's kind of an all-in mentality. We've got everybody from our softball coach to our girls basketball coach, the football staff. We're kind of all in this thing together. And, I think it's a credit to the people that I get to work with every day and really to our kids. They've done a great job of adjusting and abiding by the new norms, I guess, that are in place currently. So, I couldn't be happier.
All right, second question. What would be your biggest takeaway from your first year leading the Mustangs?
It's the community is different. Our kids come to us with high expectations. I think that starts at home. They have high expectations in everything that they're doing, from success in the classroom to on the courts, and in our case in football on the field. And when you have that combination and you have the type of parental support that we have, you got a chance to be pretty successful. I can tell you the district that I'm in and that we played in last year is one of the better ones that I've been a part of, and I thought I was in a really good one prior to coming out here. But it's I'm not so sure this one might be a little bit tougher. Some of these kids are a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, and every single one of them are well coached. So it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
All right, your quarterback DJ Sears almost ran for 1,000 yards last year, 17 touchdowns, three interceptions. But what do you want to see from him this next season, improvement-wise?
Well, credit goes to him and to Brad Manning, the offensive coordinator, and the rest of the guys on my staff. We are different than what Cypress Ranch has been in the past. We're a multiple spread offense. So when you go from maybe not throwing the ball near as much as we're willing to do to win a game, and the tempo at which we try to play at, that's asking a lot on some kids. And I got started April 22nd. So we really didn't have a spring ball. We had summer sports specific training, and August 3rd rolled around, and our first scrimmage, we still had tape on the back of their helmets to figure out who they were. But for DJ, I think it's year 2 in the system. He might be one of the hardest working kids I've been around in a long time. He constantly works on his craft. He's very coachable. So I think there's going to be a natural command of the offense, and of course, you're going to add some wrinkles here and there to what we're doing. But I think him playing more confident and knowing where to put the ball and play and all that type of stuff. Those numbers are got a good chance to go up. He's a pretty talented kid.
So you have a new team coming in to the district, Sci Falls. First question, actually, how is it going to be different that y'all won't have to travel for any district games? It'll all be same stadium. And then also, what do you expect from Sci Falls?
Well, here's the cool thing. Last year, I didn't go to Bryan because Bryan came to us on the varsity schedule and all that. And Tomball Memorial, that was a heck of a game. We were playing for an outright district championship in the last week of the season. Great atmosphere to go play in. And the thing about Sci Park ISD that makes it such a good place is there's a brotherhood amongst us in the coaching world. Come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that's out the door, and you're trying to get a win for your program or for your kids. So I'd imagine the district's pretty excited that we're not traveling, but about 3 miles down the road, or at the most maybe 5 or 6, however it is, to Bridgeland. Regarding Sci Falls, Chris Brister is a really, really good friend of mine. I've known Coach Brister for a long time. His offensive coordinator, Richard Kitterman, and I worked together years ago. My first go-around here out at Jersey Village in 2004 to 2008, he was an offensive line coach, and I was a defensive line coach. So we've been friends for a long, long time. And, coming from the San Antonio area, a lot of times guys go to clinics and the universities. Well, I went to Coach Brister's place, and that's how we learned to play some football defensively. And so it's kind of going to be back at you. I know they're going to do a great job of coaching their kids. They got a really, really talented running back, from what I can gather. And, it's just one more challenge that we add to the list of the 10 that we, currently got in front of us. I think our district was really, really competitive last year, and I think it's going to be extremely competitive this year.
All right, and final question. What is the number one game you have circled on your calendar?
The one that we got to play that week is the number one on the list. Honestly, and I think I probably, most coaches would agree with me that if we get a chance to get back and playing, every single one of them will be the most important game we've coached in, because I think that's what our communities need and our state needs, and really that's what our country needs, is us to get back there to coaching ball and seeing kids play their hearts out for the guy next to them and for their communities, and represent their school district. So I'll take that week 1 matchup all the way to that week 10 matchup, and hopefully we've done enough in between that we get the week 11 or 12, however that thing works out in the playoffs, and keep on rolling.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for coming on, and can't wait for football.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Cy Springs Panthers. Let's take a look at their 2019 highlights.
The Panthers are going to have it 1st and 10 on the Tiger 21-yard line. Handoff right down the middle. It's almost –
with Jackson in the back. Mosley looking. Pressure coming. Avoids one tackle. Avoids another. He's got wide open room inside the 10. Going in for the touchdown. Gets it.
Kraft will hold. Snap down. It's going to be a loose football. Kraft will pick it up and then loses it. And it's picked up by the Panthers. Across midfield, still going. 30 inside the 20, 15, 10-5. Touchdown, Sci Springs.
Out far side left, 2 in the backfield. Mosley under center. Looks in a cross route down the middle. He got it, and it's actually going to be a touchdown, Panthers. We're back. Mosley under center. Fakes a handoff, throws in a play action pass, and it's caught right there on the far side of the end zone. Did he get in before he was tackled?
Gavin, talk a little bit about Sci Springs. They struggled last season.
It was another rough season for the Panthers. They went 0-10 overall, 0-8 in district, and of course missed the playoffs again. But like we said before, nowhere to go it up for the teams that maybe don't finish last in the district. So 0-10, I think they have a shot to improve this coming season.
Dustin, nowhere to go but up for Sci Springs.
Yep, that's true. And, well, it's going to be – it was tough sailing for them in the last alignment. And, unfortunately, I don't see things getting much better for them in this current new realignment. They're coming in on a 15-game losing streak, which is – the longest in program history, and it's gonna be tough to find some bright spots for this team. But Jermari Seals was an all-district performer for them last year as a defensive back. He'll be a 3-year starter, and I think he'll be counted on to be the face of this rebuild for Springs.
Trevor, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to be a little more optimistic than Dustin. No, really, every season is a different season. I mean, you have teams that can go 16-0 and win a state championship, and then the next year they can go right back to being they can maybe not even win a game. I don't know if that's happened, but you can go from 16-0 to maybe 2-8. But one thing that Sci Springs is, it is a new season, and they might be able to. It's going to be tough, but I think they could maybe get at least one win in district, and one win's better than no win. So anything in district would be a positive for them, and just trying to rebuild.
And you talked with the head man of that rebuild, Charles Rohan. What did you see?
Well, he's just excited to get back out there having football practice, strength and conditioning, just starting this week, and he's just ready for the season.
Let's take a look at that interview.
We are here with Coach of Sci Springs, Charles Rohan. And Coach, how have you been doing?
Doing pretty good. Trying to get used to all this new normal.
So what have you been doing to kind of with the whole maybe Zoom meetings or during this whole coronavirus?
Yeah, we've been holding staff meetings Zoom, position meetings Zoom, and a lot of admin Zooms. It seems like I've been Zoomed out. I mean, we've been in a ton of these meetings.
All right, so looking at the district now, it's completely Sci-Fair oriented. So how is it going to be to not have to travel either to Bryan or Tomball Memorial?
Go back to a couple years ago, it's been that way since we got here, and then just for 2 years we had to travel a little bit. But travel's nothing. Where we came from before, we had to travel a lot. District games were a couple hours away, so this little bit of travel is kind of nice.
All right. Well, you have returning quarterback Jeremiah Mosley. And so what did you see from him last year, and then what are you also expecting from him coming up this year?
I expect him to be the leader of our team. Last year he grew a lot, just with his leadership ability, but we need him to take a few more steps forward and just show that poise that you expect from a quarterback. And looking forward to starting our strength conditioning coming in a week and getting all those guys back to where we can start seeing them again.
To piggyback off that, like you said, strength and conditioning starts next Monday. What's going to be different about it since it is going to be limited in some capacity?
It's going to be way different. Just the 6-foot rule whenever you're at rest, and 10-foot rule when you're at work, and only be able to have a limited number of kids in a group, and limited number of kids in certain spaces, and it's been a lot of planning, and it's going to look quite different than it ever has. So it's going to be challenging, but we're ready to get back and work with the kids.
All right, and last question. Looking at your pre-district schedule, you have Katy, Taylor, Humble, and Jersey Village. Do you think that's going to be a good test for district, and what are your expectations for those 3 games?
Oh, absolutely. Jersey Village, we played up until a couple of years ago, and then they're always very athletic and give us a pretty good view of what we're going to see. Don't know a lot about Humble, but they had a pretty good year last year, and Katy Taylor is always really big and physical, so I think all 3 will get us ready for the gauntlet.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for coming on.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Y'all take care.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
You too.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, the Sci Wildcats. Let's take a look at their 2019 season.
The Panthers are going to have it 1st and 10 on the Tiger 21-yard line. Handoff right down the middle. It's gone almost. Oh, well.
With Jackson in the back. Mosley looking. Pressure coming. Avoids one tackle. Avoids another. He's got wide open room inside the 10. Going in for the touchdown. Gets it.
Kraft will hold. Snap down. It's going to be a loose football. Kraft will pick it up and then loses it. And it's picked up by the Panthers. Across midfield, still going. 30 inside the 20, 15, 10-5. Touchdown, Cy Springs.
Out far side left, 2 in the backfield. Mosley under center. Looks in a cross route down the middle. He got it, and it's actually going to be a touchdown, Panthers. We're back. Mosley under center. Fakes a handoff, throws in a play action pass, and it's caught right there on the far side of the end zone. Did he get in before he was tackled?
Gavin, tell us more about the program that's good in all sports, basically, the Cy Wildcats.
It was a good year for Cy last year. They went 8-4 overall, 7-1 in district play. They won a share of the district title. They beat Cedar Ridge in the first round, lost in that thriller game to the Woodlands in the second round of the playoffs.
Trevor, first thoughts.
Well, first of all, you're right, Gavin. Crazy game with Woodlands, triple overtime. I mean, a playoff loss is always horrible, but I guess the takeaway you could take from that is they really pushed the Woodlands. But Cy last year really consistently, that option attack was just really got the job done. The only game didn't really work for them was the one district game they lost, which was to Cy Ranch over at Bridgeland, and they got thumped in that one. So that will be Cy Ranch's game. They had circled as Bridgeland because they got thumped. So Cy Woods' game they're going to have this year circled is to try to get revenge on Cy Ranch, maybe make it a little closer.
I love that word, thumped. Dustin, talk about the co-district champion last season, Cy Woods.
Well, my old school has a little bit of retooling to do with Jackson Jones graduating. Dylan Cormier acquitted himself rather well in when he was called upon. Christian Scott's moved on, but Javarian Stewart has emerged as a top option for them. He also returned a couple kicks for touchdowns. But the one area of concern for them, for Woods, is probably going to be on the defensive side, where they're pretty much going to have to replace every linebacker, every defensive back. So Chris Agnew and Tyler Sherrill on the defensive line, they're going to have a huge task ahead of them to lead that rebuilding effort on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're probably going to be... They'll compete for a playoff spot, but they may have lost a little bit too much to compete for a district title.
Trevor, what do you think?
Well, I think everything that Dustin said. Defensively, they're just not. They're going to have a lot of people to replace, and it's going to be tough for them to, try to repeat 7-1. They even beat Tompkins Memorial, which personally I'm pretty shocked by because that offense was dynamic. They don't have to play them anymore, but it's going to be tough for them in 2020. They can, again, like Dustin said, I think compete for that playoff spot because this is a pretty wide open district, but we'll see what happens competing for that district title.
Gavin, you Billy Joel fan? Was Trent Faith keeping the faith?
I definitely think Trent Faith was keeping the faith. I mean, they lost a lot of key players last year, but he sounds like he's optimistic about coming back and reloading and getting back into a potential place where they can contend for that district title once again.
Let's take a look at Gavin's interview with Trent Faith.
We now welcome on Cywood's Wildcats head coach Trent Faith. Coach, how have you been keeping up with your players during this crisis?
Well, pretty much like everybody else, we're Zooming. We have a weekly Zoom meeting. The team, we trying to keep their hopes, keep their spirits up. Everybody's been kind of down, and as you know, next Monday we can start having SAC camp with restrictions, but mostly Zooms, social media, and each individual coach is having meetings with their players, talking about X's and O's to keep them abreast of what, so we're familiar with our offense and defense, and so when we hit it running, hopefully someday we'll know what to do.
Coach, you're losing quite a few key players, and we'll start with the defense. Chase Richter, Reagan Simmons, Khalil Robinson, and Jacob Jones, and to name some of them. How do you and your defensive staff plan to fill those shoes this coming season?
Well, when you lose really good players, you don't always replace them. Those guys will always be missed, but we've got some good players coming up, and we feel excited about the guys we've got coming up as well. So we were a senior heavy team, as you know, but guys got to step up, and that's what it's all about. Stepping up, taking the challenges that are given to them, and we'll see how it unfolds.
Now, on the offensive side of the ball, on the other side, you're losing Christian Scott, Cameron Soule, Amari McDonald, and, of course, your quarterback, Jackson Jones. How do these losses affect the offense you run moving forward, particularly this coming year in 2020?
Well, you hope, again, losing great players is tough, but you hope your program is established well enough where the guys coming from the junior varsity, coming from the backup roles, can step in and do a good job, and that's what we expect of our players. Some of them may have not had many varsity, but we expect them to perform at a high level, and they expect it as well. So, it's always tough when you lose a lot of good players, but we also feel like if you've got a good program and the young guys are, we divide our staff up in a certain different way than a lot of people do. We all coach every level. We don't have a freshman staff. We don't have a junior varsity staff. We don't have a varsity staff. All of our coaches coach everybody. So we feel like that's a benefit to us.
Coach, you're coming off a year where your Wildcats went 7-3 in the regular season and came away with a share of the district title, and you guys even won a playoff game and then fell in the second round of the Woodlands. So after what most people would call a successful season, what needs to happen in 2020 for the Wildcats to get over that hump?
Just be able to win the games like the Woodlands game. We were two evenly matched teams. Both teams were good on offense, defense, special teams. You hope to come away. The margin of victory is very small, as you know. The difference between winning and losing is very small. We try to do everything by a process. Take care of our business, do the best we can do, work hard, take care of the little things. I think it's all about little things. And when we look back at the Woodlands game, there's a lot of little things, that could have gone either way. You have to be able to take care of those little things. So when you get in those situations, you come away with a victory. And like I said, it's a very small margin of error. And so we try to really focus on little things. My old college coach, Vernon Buell, used to say there are no little things, and that's correct.
Coach, final question. You're back, more or less in the same district as usual every year. And what are your expectations for your team in the new 16-6A in 2020?
Our goal is to repeat as district champions. And then, if you weren't able to do that, you want to get in the playoffs, because when the playoffs start, it doesn't matter who the first seed is or the second seed. You've got to take care of business, and it's a whole new ball game, so to speak. So, our goal is to get in the playoffs, and if we can somehow muster out another district championship, that would be tremendous. The main goal is get in the playoffs and then make a run. And we've been in the playoffs the last 2 years after a 3-year drought, and our players understand and expect to be part of that equation when the time comes. But it's a lot of work cut out for us, and there's some luck involved too. Staying healthy, at the right positions, and then if you do have some injuries, the guys stepping up and taking those positions and doing well, which we had last year. We had some injuries in key positions, and the backups came in and did an outstanding job. And I tell all of our players, it doesn't matter whether you play 80 snaps a game or 2 snaps a game. It's equally important for all of those players to be bought into your program, and they're equally important in the success of your program, no matter how many snaps you get.
Coach, I know we're looking forward to seeing your Cy Wildcats in 2020. We want to thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it.
No problem. Best of luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Finally, we go to the Langham Creek Lobos. Let's take a look at their 2019 season.
Welcome back in. They get the injured player off the field. Now we're back to action. Best wants to go deep on first down. He's looking for Cowell. A one-handed over-the-shoulder interception. What a grab that was by Jalen Jackson across the other side of the field and out of bounds at
Johnson drops back, fires it into the end zone. Caught.
Drops back, looks, pressure coming, throws over the middle, left side, complete, got him, touchdown for Jones.
pistol formation, turning, handing it off. Landry trying to get outside. Landry does. 20, 15, 10, touchdown Lobos. I believe that's the first touchdown of the season.
Gavin, you talk about a roller coaster ride of a program. They struggled last season trying to get back to where they once were in 2020.
Langham Creek last year went 2-8 overall, 2-6 in district play, and it was simple. They missed the playoffs after making the postseason in 2018, so for 2020 it's trying to get back to that point that they were at 2 years ago.
Trevor, how did they get back?
Well, they finish. The one game I got to call for them, we talked about earlier, that Sci Park Langham Creek game, they had the lead going into the fourth quarter, gave up a Sci Park touchdown, and then just kind of obviously didn't finish. They gave up a pick six, and that kind of put the seal on that game. So one thing they need to do is they need to get better at finishing. Cy Lakes could also take a page from that. But just, they can compete. They have the athletes. It's just finishing. Don't blow leads.
Dustin, your thoughts on Lingam Creek?
Well, I have to give Coach Thompson credit on last year that he realized that it was a lost year. It wasn't going to happen. So I don't want to say they tanked, because tanking usually has a negative connotation in sports. But he acknowledged that it wasn't going to happen for Langham last year, and just decided to look towards the future when he put in Seth Johnson at quarterback and various other youngsters on the offensive side of the ball. I think their defense will probably keep them in games. Got Javion Gibson, who's attracted some Power 5 interest, and in fact, they return all four of their linebackers, and they all led the team in tackles last year. I think how Langham will do next year will depend on how much progress they've made on offense. I think they'll compete, but they're probably going to be a year away from competing for a playoff spot.
I had a chance to catch up with Lingam Creek head coach Todd Thompson. He is optimistic about the 2020 season with quarterback Seth Johnson. Let's take a look at that interview I had with him.
We now welcome on Langham Creek head coach Todd Thompson. Coach, how have you been doing?
I've been doing all right. I mean, it's kind of difficult for everyone right now, and we're doing the best we can, though, and everybody's kind of in the same boat. So I feel like that, we're not really falling behind right now. We're just trying to keep in touch with our kids every day and every week and kind of monitor their progress. And looking forward to a week from today, we're going to get to start back workouts.
I got to ask you, what was your reaction when you saw the new 16-6A district? Of course, a lot less traveling this time around.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's kind of mixed feelings there with, we lost Tomball Memorial, which had really, had a good football team the last couple of years and been a very tough opponent in our district. And, Brian's always competitive, but we lost them, and I was kind of glad that we lost them, but then we picked up Sci Falls, so that kind of made up for it. So it's tough, every week's going to be tough, and it's a tough district, and we're now back where we're all a Sci Fair district again. So that'll be a good thing. No travel, play all our games close to home, but it'll be difficult.
You have junior quarterback Seth Johnson coming off his sophomore year. What have you seen from him as far as development-wise?
We kind of threw him in there. He probably wasn't ready for that spot, but we felt like we needed to give him a shot and see what he could do there. And he really progressed well, and I think he got better every week, got more comfortable. He kind of basically went from freshman football to the varsity. So that's a big jump. And so he continued to get better, I felt like, throughout the year. I know he's excited about coming back. We've got a couple other kids that are going to compete at quarterback. I've got a kid that will also be a junior that was our JD quarterback, Tanner Murray. And he has a lot of potential. And so I feel pretty good about the quarterback position right now.
Who else are you excited about coming back for you guys this upcoming season?
We've got a couple of O-linemen that Cade Hanks and a couple of guys that really stepped up and played well for us last year, and they were younger kids, and I think they're going to just continue to grow and get better. Javion Gibson is kind of our defensive leader right now. He's gotten several offers this offseason, and expecting big things out of him. He's going to play linebacker for us. Not really sure right now, inside or outside, but anywhere where we can try to get him to make plays. So,
you guys have had a lot of successful seasons. Last year, you guys were 2-8. What do you guys need to do to improve upon that and get back to where you guys were a few years ago?
It was a rough year for all of us, and something that we're not used to. So we've got to get back to, doing things we did that kept us winning. And that's just basically getting better every day, not looking too far ahead, trying to live in the moment and take each day one day at a time. And that's kind of all you can do. And hopefully that this team will kind of learn from some mistakes that were made last year, and we'll be able to bounce back and get back to where we're used to being.
And last question for you, Coach. We've asked every coach this. What do you expect football to look like in 2020?
So right now I'm expecting it to look just like it always has. I kind of always think positive, and I don't come up with a bunch of scenarios in my head and worry about those things, because you have no control over those. So until I hear different, we're planning on it being just like it was, and then we'll make adjustments where we need to.
Well, Coach, we're very much looking forward to seeing you guys this season and looking forward to the 2020 season. Thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Thank you. Appreciate what all you guys do for high school football.
Thank you very much.
All right, that'll do it for our 16-6A show. I'll start with any final thoughts. Gavin, go ahead.
We mentioned earlier the words wide open are, evident in this district. I mean, I think with 8 teams in the district, I think there's probably 6 or 7 of them that could contend for a playoff spot, and then 1 or 2 that are still in that maybe rebuilding mode. But I think for a wide open district, I think it'll make for a lot of fun in 16-6A in 2020.
Trevor.
Well, it's going to be fun. I think the favorites are for sure it's going to be Bridgeland. Also, you can't can't count out Sci Ranch. I would think those would be the two main teams everyone's looking at. Also, Sci Falls is going to be in the mix. You could honestly see a three-way tie. I don't think would really shock anybody. But one thing I'm looking at is, I know playoffs are a long way away, but that is a crazy region. You have everyone in this district. You have the Woodlands, Klein district, and then you have your Rockwalls, your Cedar Hills, your DeSoto's, your Duncanvilles. A couple of pretty good teams up in the DFW area. So even if whoever comes out of this district is going to have a real struggle, maybe not struggle, but it's going to be tough in the playoffs.
It'll definitely be very Dallas-Fort Worth and Houston heavy. Chalk we might see. Dustin, you get the last word.
I'm looking forward to seeing an all Sci Fair district. That hasn't happened since, in a few years. But I think they'll be good because it's going to make for a lot of competitiveness, because all the kids in the area know each other in some form or fashion. But come playoff time, it's gonna be pretty tough, as Trevor said, because they've got the Klein and Tomball district in round 1, and that's not gonna be. And with possibly Westfield and the Woodlands lying in wait in round 2, it's gonna be a war to get out of Houston.
It will be a war to get out of Houston. It's always a war to get out of Houston. Have you seen that traffic, Mike?
Oh, of course. Right.
Anyway, that'll do it for our 16-6A show. I want to thank our special guest, Dustin Wynn. Thank you for coming on instead of Chase Perisher. I'm going to get on his rear end. I also want to thank my co-hosts, as always, Trevor Bullard, Gavin Moritz. Always a lot of fun. We'll see you next week for our next preview show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Chase Snyder signing off from the TexanLive.com studios from Humble, Texas.